Hi, it's October 23rd. I'm Ian Warrender from Warrender Technical Solutions, and I wanted to focus this week on the personal consultation side. Last week, while doing the business briefing, I did a spiral for my version of the Deming diagram, the Can Do Check Act. Do it slightly differently, which I will go into another time. But I thought it was a good opportunity to demonstrate as a training tool of how to actually produce a spiral in Microsoft. There's a lot of different tools out there that can do spirals, but if you don't have anything other than Microsoft, it's actually fairly difficult. There are Google searches out there that will give you information like Visual Basic modal construction, which is a little extreme, and there are other ones that will sell you a spiral or a method of doing a spiral. And my way seemed a little easier than a lot of theirs, and so I thought I'd put together a brief training diagram, a training session, which is going to go into the Warrender Technical Solutions group. And I just wanted to present that to you today. This is just an introduction to it. Also wanted to touch on a little bit about how I deal with problems, because when I come up with these briefings, have something set in my mind in terms of what they are going to look like, what they're going to be, and I don't always have the idea of how I'm going to do it. I knew last week I wanted to have the Deming cycle in a spiral, because although you repeat the process, you don't actually finish where you start, which is how the traditional Deming cycle diagram shows. And so I like to show the progression going from something to somewhere else, which for me is best demonstrated in a spiral. But I didn't have that idea of how I was going to do it. I just sat down with Microsoft presentation last week after doing the briefing and came up with a method. And that's how I deal with problems. It's more important to identify what the problem is than worry about what the solution is going to be. And so I come up with what my definition of the problem is, and then I go away and find the solution. And that's something I will be doing for anyone that comes to Warrender Technical Solutions. We'll identify the problem. We won't be worrying about minimizing it to come up with a easy way of doing it that doesn't actually get you what you want. It just gets you something close. We'll come up with a solution that will get you what you want, and I won't always know the answers straight away. Something that we'll often work together to do. So here is the training session that I put together. The training session without this introduction is in Warrender Technical Solutions Facebook group, and it'll be in YouTube and all various other places. And it's a type of thing where if you give me a problem to solve for you, that I can create something like this video that I'll put online for others to see, and obviously give you yourself the solution. So it's a bit unscripted today, a bit just an introduction. Hope everyone has a good weekend, and please give me feedback on the training. Thank you. This tutorial will take you through how to make a spiral in Microsoft. We'll be using Microsoft PowerPoint, but this will work in any other Microsoft software. To begin, we're going to need some guidelines to build the spiral around, one horizontal and one vertical line. On the ribbon, select Insert, then Shapes, and then the Line tool. To create a line, simply hold down the left mouse key and drag the line from the starting point to your ending point. There are two ways to create a vertical line. The first is to hold down the Shift key while dragging the line down during creation. The second, after creation, is to right-click on the line, go to Size and Position, select the Size option, and make sure your width equals 0. The horizontal line can be done the exact same way, either using the Shift during creation or making sure the height equals 0 after creation. For this example, I'm going to put the guidelines in the center of the page, but you can put the guidelines wherever the center of your spiral is going to be. To put them at the center, right-click on each line, and for the vertical, click on Size and Position, go to Position, and for the vertical line, make sure the horizontal position is 0 from center. For the horizontal line, do the same, but make sure its position on the vertical is 0 from center. Now you can extend these lines by selecting one of them, holding down the Shift key, placing your mouse cursor over one of the ends, holding down the left mouse key and then dragging the line whatever length you require. Remember, these are just guidelines that we're going to use to build the spiral around. Now there are two different types of spirals we can make, one that goes outwards clockwise, ones that go inwards clockwise. For this example, we'll be using an outwards clockwise spiral, but I'll be showing you later how to change that over if needed. Now to create the spiral, we're going to use the arc tool, which can be found on the ribbon under Insert in Shapes. Now we're going to be making the spiral in stages, so to help I've split the presentation page into 4 segments. Now using the arc tool, make your first arc using the left mouse button to drag out a curve. Don't worry about size, position or location at this point, just make a simple curve. Unfortunately, spirals always come down to numbers. It depends on if you want your spiral to be inwards, outwards, how tight or loose you want it. Now how to alter the spiral is something we'll come to a bit later. For now, right click on your arc, go to size and position, and then under size, change the height to 5 and the width to 6. Now this is probably the most important part, moving your first arc onto the guidelines. We want to move the arc so it's in section 2 and touching both of the guidelines. To do this, select your arc, use a left mouse button to drag it until both of the guidelines turn into dashed lines to state that they're touching them, and then let go. With the first arc in place, we want to replicate it. There's 2 ways of doing this. My preference is to select your current arc, use Ctrl+C to copy and Ctrl+V to paste. Or you could select your original arc, use right click to copy, and then anywhere on the page, right click to paste. To make sure we don't inadvertently change the arc we've already done, move the new arc anywhere into section 4. Now to size and reorientate your second arc, right click on the arc, go to size and position, and under size change the rotation by 90 degrees. We then want to update the height to match the width of the previous arc, so put height 6, and because we're making it bigger, change the width to 7. Now we need to place the second arc. To do this, we use the left mouse button to pick up and drag. This time we need to align it with the vertical line, so that's in dotted, but also because it's 90 degrees with the top of the previous. That will happen when there's a dotted line above the previous arc as shown. When done correctly, your 2 arcs should join up and your spiral has begun. Now we want to continue that same process, so selecting the second arc, copy and paste it, and then move it into section 3. Then we need to go and format the shape and move it another 90 degrees, so to 180. Take the height so it matches the previous width, so 7, and then increase the width to 8. And then the important part is placing it as shown. Once done, the next part of the spiral is complete. The next part is doing the arc for section 1. It's the exact same process we've done twice before now. So take the arc in section 3, copy and paste it, place it in section 1, size and position, another 90 degrees rotation, so 270. Change the height to match the previous width, so 8, and the width should now be 9. Then carefully put it in the right position, and then the first loop of the arc is complete. Now we could continue doing this, taking the previous arc, rotating it, increasing its size, and that would work. However, since we now have our first loop of the spiral, we can take a small shortcut and miss out the rotating part. So this time, copy and paste the arc that's already in section 2. Move it to somewhere within section 2 but away from the main spiral. And then all we need to do is change the height and width So again, height matching the previous arc, so 9, and increasing the width 10. And then putting that in place, you've got the next part of your spiral. Now things should be getting easier and faster. So for the next arc, copy and paste the arc already in section 4, move it, match the height to the width of the previous arc, increase the width by 1, and then put it into place. From here, you can repeat the process to create as many arcs as you need for as many loops that you want to create. The important part being the placement of each arc as you create them. We don't just need to construct outwards, we can construct inwards if we want. We can take the inner arc from section 1, move it, change its width to match the height from the previous arc, put the height smaller, and then put it into place. We can do the same in section 3, reducing that, and we can keep going inwards until as required. Once you're happy with your spiral, you can then remove the guidelines and you have a complete spiral. Going back to the numbers, the most important part of this method is the height and width. To produce a tighter spiral, the difference between the height and width need to be reduced. On the other hand, for a looser spiral, the height and width need to be increased. To make the spiral decrease clockwise instead of increase clockwise, the height must be larger than the width. The important part is consistency, matching the width with the previous height or vice versa depending on direction, and making sure the difference between the height and width remains constant throughout your spiral. Once you have mastered the creation of spirals, then you can focus on the important things like formatting, and if you're in PowerPoint, even animating. If you'd like any more information on this or any other issues you're having with any software that you're currently using, be it Microsoft or others, please contact me by messaging me over at facebook.com/WarrenderTS or email me at inquiries@warrender.ltd, or find the Warrender Technical Solutions group in Facebook and join and ask directly from there. Thank you.